Namo Namaha, Bhavtam Sarvesham Hatam Swagatam. Welcome all to my channel Sanskrit Sopanam. Now, Sopanam means step, as in steps of a staircase. And that is exactly what I'm aiming to provide through this channel, like some building steps to anyone who is interested in learning Sanskrit. Now, you may be a student who is learning Sanskrit for his academic purpose, or you might be someone who is learning Sanskrit for religious purposes, or you just might be someone who wants to learn Sanskrit so that you can pick up any Sanskrit text, be it a Veda or Upanishad or Gita, Panchatantra story, anything, and read it in its own original language without the help of a translation. That is exactly what I began my journey of Sanskrit self-learning. That a language loses its charm, the language loses its essence and the beauty and the true emotions the author needs to convey, and a lot of time the actual information also, because a lot of text gets misinterpreted and badly misinterpreted, so that the entire meaning of a original text changes. So, to avoid all this and to feel the true emotion and the true essence, the true beauty of a language and its art, that's why I was pumped up for Sanskrit, and I began my journey of Sanskrit self learning. So, you might belong to any of these categories, or you may have any other reason for learning Sanskrit, whatever it may be. I welcome you all to my channel. Now, I'll begin with a simple question first. Why Sanskrit? Why one needs to learn Sanskrit? Sanskrit is a dead language, and it's not a spoken language anymore. Why do I learn it? We have Sanskrit in our academic structure in school. So I also had Sanskrit, but that time Sanskrit to me was a subject that was high scoring, and that was it. That it is a high scoring subject, I'll take it and I'll score good marks on it, and that be it. Because you just cram up all the tables and all the huge tables, all the word forms, shabd and everything. You just memorize it, and then you vomit out on the paper and you get good marks, and that's it. Because the way it was taught to me in school, I was bombarded with all the grammatical rules and all the tables that I need to memorize. I was expected to memorize. So, with all this, I never bothered to travel a bit more and find out what is Sanskrit actually, what the language actually holds for. Had I done that then, I would have already been a Sanskrit veteran by now, hopefully. I'm not. But okay. So, anyways, in recent years, I again stumbled upon Sanskrit, and this time through the plethora of text that is written in Sanskrit and that is available to us. So, I was aware of few texts. Like I was aware of Vedas, four Vedas, Rig Veda, Sama Veda, Yajur Veda, Atharva Veda. Then I was aware of Upanishad. I may not be aware of their names, but I was aware of this, that there are some texts that are known as Upanishad. Then I was, of course, aware of Bhagavad Gita. And that was it for me. Maybe two or three more names, but that was it. That was the whole text in Sanskrit that I knew existed. But once I dwelled into it, I found out that, okay, you have Vedas, but then you have six Vedangas. Now, what are Vedangas? Vedangas are known as Vedangas, that are known as limbs of Vedas. These are the texts that you are supposed to study before studying Vedas. So, you have topics like Nirukta, that means etymology. So, etymology of any word. Then, of course, you have Vyakaran, that means grammar. Then you have Shiksha, that is phonetics. Phonetics means how it is written and how it sounds. Then you have Chandas, very interesting. Chandas means poetic meter. Like a major part of Sanskrit text is written in poetic form. Again, this I came to know a lot later in my life. But a major part of text that is written in Sanskrit, it need not be poetry, it need not be play. Even the science stuff like Bhaskaracharya's Leelavati or Siddhant Shiromani or anything, even a user manual in Sanskrit, it can be written in poetic form. How it is written in poetic form, there are two very unique things about Sanskrit that I'll touch later in later videos. But a lot of it is written in poetic form. And for writing something in poetic form, you need a poetic meter. And the study of those meters, those poetic meters, chandas, that is one topic. And how interesting it is. Then I later found out that Gayatri month who that the mantra that I was chanting from when I was a kid. So it has its own meter. It has its Gayatri Chanda, then Shiva Tandav Stotram. It is in Panchachamra Chanda, and even Bhagavad Gita. A major part of it is in Anushtup meter. So all these things they have their meter, and the study of this chanda is one part of Vedanga. So you have four Vedas that are actually a mammoth text, and then you have six Vedangas, and they again are so wide and so beautiful, and a lot of beautiful concepts in there. Interesting point: Jyotisha is one of the six Vedangas. Jyotisha, the science which talks about astrology and astronomy, it's one of the Vedangas I never knew about. I knew Jyotisha, but I never knew it like it was a part of Vedanga. Then you have Upaveda. Now we are still stuck to Vedic time Sanskrit text, and then you have Upaveda. I'll tell you a name, and almost every one of you might have heard it: Ayurveda. We all are aware of Ayurveda. Now, Ayurveda is an Upaveda of Atharva Veda. Now, Upaveda doesn't mean a subset, or it doesn't mean that that is taken out of Atharva Veda. It just means an auxiliary text to Atharva Veda. But Ayurveda is one of a Upaveda. Samaveda has its own Upaveda, and that is Gandharva Ved. Gandharva Ved talks about music and dance. So, you have four Upavedas, then you come down, then you have Puranas. We all have, my mother, she reads Shiv Purana and Vishnu Purana, Bhagavad Purana, and lot of Purans. Then you have, of course, Itihasa, that we all are aware of. We may not have read in Sanskrit, but we all are aware of Itihas, Mahabharata, and Ramayana. So these are the common names that I knew, and Bhagavad Gita. But then, after these Puranas, Bhagavad Gita, and everything, then you have things like Arthashastra. That is the text on socio-economics, Arthashastra. Then you have Tantra Shastra. Don't confuse Tantra with black magic. It's not. What it is, we might touch upon it later. Then you have Darshan Shastra, of course, like the famous Darshan Shastra. Darshan means philosophy. Famous philosophical text like Kapil's Samkhya, Patanjali's Yoga Sutra. Now I knew that yoga, but for me, yoga was only those exercises, those physical exercises I know that we do. But that physical exercise is just a very small part. That is Hatha Yoga, and that is very small part of yoga. Yoga is an entire philosophy. So you have six schools of philosophy, and then three unorthodox schools of philosophy, Buddhism, Jainism, that have their own separate thing going on. So that is Darshan Shastra. And then you have commentaries on them, notes on them, so many things like Vedant school of philosophy. You might have heard of Adi Shankaracharya, Jagat Guru Adi Shankaracharya. I also knew his name. I was not aware of his work. He has done a tremendous amount of work in Vedanta philosophy. He had his own Advait Vedanta, and he propagated it. So you have text on that, you have commentaries on them, you have notes on them. So already so much. Okay, but not everything is just technical or religious or academic purpose or spiritual. You have art, so much text in art, like poetry. So we all are aware of Kalidasa, and Kalidas has done a tremendous amount of work, be it poems, play, poetry, Kumar Sambhava, Raghuvamsha, Shakuntala. So you have Kalidasa writing poetries, prose. Then you have theater plays, you have dramatics. So there was a artist Bhasa, and he was considered to be a pioneer, one of the pioneer of these theatrics, dramas. So you have big theater dramas written in Sanskrit language and with all its glory and everything. Then you have prose literature, then you have poetic literature, then you have a mixture of these two that is known as Champu. Now it is entirely new name for me. I have never heard of this name, Champu, but we all are aware of Valmiki Ramayana. Then there is a Champu format of Ramayana. It is written by Bhojraj. Yes. So you have Champu Ramayana that combines poetic form with prose form. So you have interplay of those two. Now, when you will read Champu Ramayana, it has its own set of emotions. It has its own beauty of interplay of words, interplay of emotions, uses of figure of speech. It You might be aware of Ramayana, but when you read it, it will feel like an entirely new text. So you have all these texts, Sanskrit texts written in art genre. Then you have Panchatantra stories that we have all grown up and listened to it, or seen them translated as a cartoon. Hitopdesha, Subhashitam, like there is not a genre that is untouched. So Bhaskaracharya's Leelavati, it is a Sanskrit text, a huge Sanskrit text on Vedic mathematics. Then his other work, Siddhant Shiromani, it talks about celestial objects and their physics, their interplay, concepts like gravity. It is all there. It is all written in Sanskrit. Then Ayurveda is its own topic, and you have book written on it by Charak Samhita. You have another genius sage, Sushrut Samhita. He's writing these books in. He wrote this text in Ayurveda. Ayurveda is all about Ayurveda has explored life science, the body, what it needs, how it operates, like no other science. So you see, you have science, you have medicine, you have art, you have socioeconomics, you have academics, you have religious, you have philosophy. Not a single genre that is untouched by our great thinkers of ancient times. And all these texts are available to us. The only key is Sanskrit. Once you know Sanskrit, once you have developed enough ability to understand Sanskrit and to grasp it, you can pick up these texts. And with little or no aid of translation, you'll be able to understand this text. So with this, I started learning Sanskrit. But still, the thought lingered in my mind that Sanskrit have a lot of rules. A lot of rules. Sanskrit has big tables that you need to memorize, and I need to memorize so much. Now, when we are kid, we have good capacity of memorizing things, but as a grown up, like memorizing thing is a bit tricky. So I was a bit skeptical when I started learning Sanskrit that okay, we'll see how far can I go in the time I have, in the energy I have. But once I started learning Sanskrit, not through a traditional way, through a way that I picked up by watching other videos, by reading other books. I had my own way of learning Sanskrit. I started learning Sanskrit through Gita, and but again, more on this later. So once I started learning Sanskrit, I realized that no other language comes at par with Sanskrit when logic and technical flow is concerned. Like Sanskrit is a beautifully, logically, and curated language, and everything has a meaning to it. Anyways, to demonstrate it, I'll take a simple example. I'll begin with the letters of Sanskrit. So the letters of Sanskrit, Sanskrit is written in Devanagari script. So the letters are ka, kha, ga, ga, anga, cha, cha, ja, ja, ya, ta, ta, da, da, na. We all have heard of it. And this is the way we were asked to memorize also. Kaka, gaga, anga, cha, cha, ja, ja, ya. At least that in my school, that was how it was. But when you say kaka, gaga, anga, these sounds, they originate from throat. If you keep your finger here, you can feel some sort of vibration, some sort of constriction. Ka, kha, ga, ga, anga. Then you have cha, cha, ja, ja, nya. It originates from the talu area, the palate area. It is in the roof at the back of the mouth. Cha, cha, ja, ja, nya. Then you have ta, tha, da, dha, na. So the tongue has moved a bit more forward, and that is the Murdani region, or the cerebral region, as it is said in English. Then you have ta, tha, da, dha, na. Now the tongue is exactly just behind teeth. Ta, tha, da, dha, na. Then you have pa, pha, ba, bha, ma. Now the sound is originating from the lips. Pa, pha, ba, bha, ma. So the rhyming order, I always learned these alphabets, kaka, gaga, anga, cha, cha, ja, ja, iya. I never realized that the sound originates from throat and it is moving outwards. So the letters, that even the letters to begin with, have a very logical flow to it. That it's not just something out of blue that you just have to do it. No, it has a logic to it. We may not be aware of that logic, but there is a logic to it. Now I'll take another example. So letters in Sanskrit, they can also be called as akshar. Anyone who is aware of a bit of a Devanagari script or Sanskrit, they know this word akshar. Now kshara, you remove the kshara means something that is perishable. When you attach a to something, it generally negates its meaning. The meaning is 180-degree flipped. So kshara means something that is perishable. So akshara means something that is imperishable. Now why are these letters called as akshara? That's something that is imperishable. It is because the sound attached to these letters, that once these letters they are chanted, once these letters they are spoken in any form, in mantra form or anything, it never perishes. It is always present. And if you have the required yogic power, you can retract these things from the out of thin air. You can retract these things if you have certain form of spiritual awakening or certain meditative power, yogic power. Because these sounds, these mantra sounds, these chantings, it never perishes. It is all formed of these letters and they never perishes. They are akshar. Now a very interesting point, I don't know if it's true or not, I just somehow connected the dots. Vedas are said to be revealed text, or they are known as Shruti. Shruti means something that is heard. So you don't have author for Veda, like you have an author for Ramayana, Valmiki. You have an author for Mahabharata, Vedvyas. You don't have an author for Vedas. Vedas are said to be revealed text or Shruti, something that is heard. So various sages in our ancient times, this knowledge was revealed to them. They heard it. Now, if the mantras, the chantings, they never perishes. And these sages, they were of course in a entirely different spiritual awakening, entirely different spiritual state. They have a lot of yogic and meditative power. So it was only obvious that they can retract these things. They can take these things and be aware of this knowledge. And that's what they did. That's how the knowledge of Vedas came to them, and then they passed to their students, and so on and so forth. And then later Ved Vyas compiled it all together. So you see how Akshar, this simple word, is has a logic to it. How this Kakaganga, it has an outward flow. Everything has a logic in Sanskrit, and I'm just beginning with it. The more we learn language, the more we'll realize. Now I agree that there are a lot of words in Sanskrit. Like it sounds like you can use every time you can use a synonym in Sanskrit for some word, and like you can go on days about this, and those synonyms will never end. So you can have so many words for a single word. So it may feel overwhelming at first, but you don't need to memorize it. It's just the immense capability of a language to adapt itself to, and have so many forms. Because once they have a logic to it, once you have a base word, you attach this, it becomes this, can be used in this context. When you have that logic in place, it's up to you. You can form so many words. And that's why the vocabulary, the grammar is so rich in Sanskrit. And that is why you have such beautiful text also. Because when you read Shiv Tandav Stotram, something like Shiv Tandav Stotram, when you read something like Rudrashtakam or so many things, like I myself is not aware of so many good text out there, but you can see the richness of the language. It's rich vocabulary, it's beautiful grammatical concepts and how they play with each other. So this entire thing, this all technical thing about a language as is was very appealing to me, and that I realized very later in my life. And that combined with so much Sanskrit wisdom, so much ancient wisdom that is to be unlocked, these both things had a very good appeal on me to learn Sanskrit. And so I started my journey of learning Sanskrit. So I hope I articulated myself good enough to give you some good reasons as to why Sanskrit. Now, coming back to another point, how? How I'm going to approach this Sanskrit learning process through in this channel. So you have a traditional approach. The traditional approach is whenever you learn a new language, So you can take a language learning app, or you in schools. So the general way is that first you learn some greeting word. How do you say hello in this language? How do you say hi, bye, good night? And then you learn simple sentences like my name is, your name is, bhavata naam kim, bhavatya naam kim, all these things. So this approach is good. This approach is not bad. It definitely produces result. It is a step by step procedure of learning a language. Obviously it is a good way, but it might not be very practical for, again, someone who is like who's doing a job, or who is just taking Sanskrit as a hobby. It might not be a very practical approach for them, because okay, these greetings and everything is nice, but I want to feel connected to the language through actual text. Because I know greetings, I know how you ask the name of someone, I know how to say pen in Sanskrit. I know how to say cheer in Sanskrit. All this is fine. But when I open a book, when I open even the first shlok of Bhagavad Gita, Dharmkshetre, Kurukshetre, Samaveta, Yuyusavaha, I'm completely jumbled. I'm completely baffled as to what is the structure, what is this. So, to reach that, you will have to spend a lot of time, a lot of patience learning through this step. So, that is a conventional way of learning a language. Through this channel, I'm not going to take that way. There are a lot of good channels, there are a lot of good videos that are taking this approach, and I will definitely guide you to there, and definitely it helps. My approach here will be, as I said before, to learn Sanskrit through actual Sanskrit text. So suppose I'll take a Shantri mantra. We know this mantra, Sahana Avatu, Sahana Bhunaktu. We know this mantra. Suppose I take Twamev Mata Chapita Twamev, or I take Gayatri Mantra. So all these actual Sanskrit text, or a Panchatantra story. Kaschat Grame Ekaha Kaka Asit. The story begins like this, and you have an entire story of a crow drinking water from that ghada. That thing is, any real practical text, and we are going to learn Sanskrit then and there. How? So I'll take a shlok. Suppose I take a shlok and I'll start decoding it. Now you will be exposed to a lot of grammatical concept there. Now it is not a step by step approach. It is not that once first you learned present tense, then you learn past tense, then you learn future tense. It is not going to be like that, because I may take a shlok that the first verb you encounter is in imperative mood, is in lot lakar, and you are like, what is imperative mood? I don't even know present tense. That is the simplest tense. So, for the first few shlokas, you might need to be patient about it, and there is absolutely no need to memorize or learn anything. No. The idea here is to be simply aware of the grammatical rules and the principles that are behind it. Just be simply aware of them. So, we take a concept when we encounter it, and we learn it then and there. And that is the idea. You don't have to memorize anything. Why? Because the same concept is going to repeat again sometime soon. Then again, it will repeat. So the first time you encounter that grammatical concept, that thing, you only understood a 2% of it. Then you encounter it again, you got maybe 10% of it. Then again, you got 20% of it. Now then again, now you got 50% of it, and you are also starting to join dots with other concept, that okay, if this is this, then logically this becomes this. So this is how I am going to take the approach, that I am going to pick up actual Sanskrit text, and we are going to learn Sanskrit through those actual text, so that you are not only learning Sanskrit language, you are actually exposing yourself to an actual text that will give you confidence, and that will make you familiar with the way these Sanskrit texts are written. See, the grammar may be very wide for a language. Yeah, it may have infinite number of vocabulary words, but still these practical text, at least most of them, uses the same concept again and again. There are only few concepts that are being used a lot of times, often than other concept. So those concepts will be highlighted, and you can pay more focus on them. So that is how I'm going to take. And through this channel, the first series I'm going to start is learning Sanskrit through Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita, why? Because everyone is aware of Bhagavad Gita. It's a popular text. It is like the most popular text, and it is a beautiful text, profound text. Sri Krishna himself is the author, like no doubt on the profoundness of that text. But my aim won't be in the deeper meaning of Bhagavad Gita, because I don't think I'm qualified enough to to teach you the meaning of Bhagavad Gita. There are so many commentaries, so many books already on Bhagavad Gita. So many genius people have done their work to explain Bhagavad Gita, and you are better off with them. My aim will be to decode Bhagavad Gita through the lens of Sanskrit grammar and vocabulary, each word decoded in its simpler forms and explaining it to you. So, more about it, I'll tell the entire methodology in the coming videos. And before that, I'll even make few videos of basic grammar and everything. I'm not going to throw you directly into Bhagavad Gita. Of course, I'll give some refresher, not just refresher, some basic. I'll make you aware of all the basic, simple grammatical concepts that are required for you to at least approach Sanskrit learning. So I'll make the next few videos will be on those topics only. So that is my approach. Learning Sanskrit through actual Sanskrit text, and first in the series will be learning Sanskrit through Bhagavad Gita. So I hope I had explained myself clearly to you guys, and I hope that you will share my interest of learning Sanskrit. And there are a lot more facets as to why at least we who are belonging to land of Bharat, this is our mother tongue, and why we need to be aware of this language, why we need to learn this language and to keep the wisdom, the knowledge it holds alive, and so that we can learn from it. That is an entire different debate. I won't go in that. If you are here, so you already have some interest in Sanskrit. I will try my best to keep that interest alive, because I believe that you can only learn something once you generate enough curiosity for it. So you develop curiosity, then you develop certain taste to it, and then you don't mind putting in efforts and patience and consistency over learning the even the mundane part of anything. So once that interest is generated, once that curiosity is generated, I think even the mundane grammatical parts, and there will be some mundane grammatical parts, we cannot run away from that. Each learning anything is a journey, but as Krishna has himself said, that don't focus on the result, focus on the journey. Your journey should be your result. So I hope through this channel I'll be able to make your journey of Sanskrit learning a bit more joyous and a bit more informative, and my videos can provide you some information, something worth your time. So with that, I'll meet you in my next video that will be on starting with the basic grammar, precursors to my Bhagavad Sanskrit through Gita series. I'll see you there, and we'll meet again soon. Vayam punah milamaha. Dhanyavad.